viewers here kind of like to like the public perception of you. Social media is like this unnecessary evil that comes with this industry, and I talk about it with a lot of people that come on my show, and you have been getting annihilated on the internet recently. What are the comments you get that are the most hurtful?
That I didn't do anything to try to help my sister. I very much did many things. People who say that I didn't support, I have tried and true examples of how I supported.
Let's get into it.
Okay.
February 1st, 2008, your father files for conservatorship over your sister. Meanwhile, in your life, you are a teenager, 4 months away from giving birth. How did you find out that your sister would be put into a conservatorship?
I guess, like, just kind of like everybody else, I didn't really know what a conservatorship was or anything, so I didn't know what, I just knew that, like, okay, the family's gonna help my sister do something. I don't know. I just knew that, like, that's all. I knew what y'all knew. Yeah. Like, I did. After what I went through with my family the few months before, I just wasn't really having them in my life at that point in time.
Again, to give context, you had just gone through all of this with your parents basically asking you to abort the baby. You say no. You're away in the cabin. Now you're going to have...
I do want to clarify.
Okay.
No one asked me to abort the baby. Okay. It was, like, just, like, heavily not, like, advocated that I have the baby. And it was almost like all of these things that happened to me afterwards were, like, ways of hopefully bending my will. If we make it, like, horrible enough, maybe she'll, like, change her mind or something.
And so you stopped talking to your dad because he was like, "Hey, fuck you, you're having it, and you're not going to do it my way."
Yeah.
Bye. So he's dealing with Brittany. Your mom was mostly with you. Then you go to file for the emancipation. Then you don't, but now you've got some of your money. You're trying to figure out your life. Yeah. And all this is happening, and your father files for conservatorship over your sister. Mm-hmm. And so no one really explains it to you.
I don't think I was their favorite person. I don't think they were to call me up and give me a heads up either. Like, I just literally blew up their world again by having a baby. So it's like, I don't think they were wanting to include me.
Based on everything you wrote in this book, your father struggled to parent. Mm-hmm. What qualified him to be a fit conservator?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the freaking state of California. Yeah. I mean, I didn't make that choice. This was a freaking court system who did. But I will say that I think that, I do think that, like, obviously someone found a need for something, but I was like, who am I to say? I mean, that's obviously a legal thing that had to go through a lot of approval.
You write in the book, on June 23rd, 2021, my sister broke her silence in regard to the oppressive nature of her 2008 conservatorship. You describe the conservatorship as oppressive. When did you come to realize that this setup was infringing on Brittany's rights?
You have to understand, since I was 17, she's been in the conservatorship for 13 years. I've never known anything different as an adult.
Yeah.
So, like, what do I know what's normal and what's not? Like, this seemed to be the way things were. So for me, she told me she was she didn't like the way certain things were happening, so I gave her the number of judges. I talked to her lawyer on the phone, which blew up in my face, and everybody turned against me.
Why?
Because I guess maybe that lawyer wasn't going to get a paycheck if he didn't have a job, so why did he need me fucking infringing on his rights, right?
So when you say that your sister, like, finally was just like, I don't like this setup, like, when exactly?
I think it was, like, for me, she just kind of felt like maybe she didn't want anything to do with any of this shit anymore, you know? And if that's the case, then, like, that's the case.
Totally.
Like, whether I agree with it or not, like, that's her decision. Like, one particular time we were in Hawaii, we went on this trip together, and we obviously are, like, with our kids there, and we're every night just staying up talking or whatever, and, like, that was really when one of the times I can remember hunkering down with her, and, like, she was expressing things to me, which obviously are her things to express, but into my point of view, it felt like she deserved to have the right to talk to somebody. So I did. I spoke with her lawyer, and I told him a lot of shit, and it went nowhere. And then people got mad at me.
Do you know around when is this? Like, how far into the conservatorship?
Probably can look on, like, I don't know. You can probably look on Instagram or something. Whenever we went to Hawaii. That was one of the times.
Okay.
Many other times, me and my husband, I do know some judges, and we did have some stuff looked into. And we told my sister many times all she had to do was go live out of state for 6 months and the conservatorship will be absolved because she'll take residence in another state. I told her this many times. That was my understanding of it. Obviously, I felt like if she spoke with the judge and these different people a bit more, that she could make the decision she wanted to, because that's a very, and by the way, from my understanding, if she wanted to end it, then that was what I was going to support. So I kept telling her, all you got to do, come live with me in my shithole in Louisiana. Like, come on, let's, whatever. And I don't know why. I don't know why that option wasn't something that she wanted to follow through with. Well, and I get she does have children, so obviously,
right.
But for me, it was like I put myself on the line a couple times with some people that, trying to help her in this situation that she said she needed help in, and pissed a lot of people off quite a few times. And so I don't know why why wouldn't she clarify that? I don't know.
I feel like to the world right now, like, nobody knows you ever tried to help her.
Oh, no. And by the way, why was I going to go out and, like, say those kinds of things, like, and then maybe that blow up in my face? I kind of was thinking, like, when I talked to her lawyer, like, he would, like use this and helpful. This is, like, he went and told me that I told them that.
So he went and told on you to, like, your dad and everyone that, like, the
thing is, I think that maybe my dad was maybe the face. There's a lot of people behind there.
Yeah.
I think it was more of, like, the lawyers and whoever it was. And, I was basically, like, it all got regurgitated to me, everything I said from the other side. And I was like, oh, my God.
Why have you never said any of this to the critics that are like, wow, you were on the conservatorship, which we'll get to, but it's like, why, like, people that are like, you never tried to help her. You're literally sitting here being like, I was looking up things.
I kind of just thought that, like, I never thought that I'd get grouped into this hatefulness because I knew that I'd always tried to help and stuff. So then I was thinking in my head, like, this, I'm never going to have to speak up. I always did the right thing. Like, to me, it was like, why would I have to say anything? Like, she knows it. Like, we know it. Like, why would I have to say anything?
What do you think everyone that's, like, threatening your life on the internet, like, want you to do?
I think they just want me to not exist. And if I do exist, it needs to be to support, someone else's life. And I think that I can exist and also support, but also protect myself.
I think that what is bothersome for a lot of these critics, there was a period of time where you were involved in the conservatorship.
And wrong. Never involved in the conservatorship. Never, not once. There are legal documents that I can show you, or actually what the media could responsibly put out there, but they don't give an F about those.
No, let's talk this through though, because people assume that your name was tied into the conservatorship, and so you're guilty. So can you explain why people think you were involved in this conservatorship?
Well, I think because outside of the conservatorship, even if it was you and your sister,
yep.
My sister asked me to oversee a trust if something were to happen to her.
So Brittany asked you?
Yes. Now, when I was approached by her team of lawyers or whatever, they were like, well, you have to get a lawyer and do that. I was like, so I did not even follow through with these steps to be a trustee over that will or anything. And that never even had anything to do with the conservatorship.
So legally, there was nothing ever filed?
Nothing. And I can, do I have my phone?
This is helpful because on the internet right now, everyone thinks that whatever you're about to explain was involvement in the conservatorship and you had, like, a hold on some type of something.
And I would like to just read the actual, like, statement
from
her. Her team filed these papers that say Jamie Lynn Spears never took the very minimum steps to proceed with any of this.
So you were never involved in the conservatorship?
I never had one part in anything ever in Brittany's conservatorship or her life at all revolving around the conservatorship. Jamie Lynn Spears was never involved in any capacity in the conservatorship. Legally documented, factually documented by her own team.
Why do people think you were involved in it?
Well, when you're in a conservatorship, everything you do has to be reported to the court. It's like if she buys this or does that, it all has to be reported because the court has to be held accountable for, heaven forbid, the worst happens or something. They are legally the court put her in this. They have to be accountable for everything that goes on under it. During this time, one of the things that happened was my sister asked me if something were to happen to her, would I oversee a trust for her boys? So that means that, like, if something were to happen to my sister, would I make sure that, this was allocated correctly to her boys. I never even became the trustee of this thing, and that is documented by her team. They filed papers.
Do you want to read something from it?
In the court approved First Amendment to the SJB Trust in 2018, the SJB Trust modified to have Jamie Lynn Spears appointed as trustee. Petitioner is informed. This is her people's team. And believes that Jamie Lynn Spears never undertook any of these steps to actually become trustee, which I didn't do the minimum task. I just didn't follow through with it. It just didn't feel like something I should do.
There was things on the internet saying that for a couple months, and then like you were taken off of it. What is that?
Because they petitioned to put me on it.
Got it.
And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, but I didn't really know what I was like. And then when I saw that it was going to be like me approving of, I was like, oh no. Like I just said no. I said I don't want to be a part of it.
So you were going to have to get like, really involved, and you were like,
I just said no. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to. These things were filed with the court. Like, why wouldn't anybody report that?
Is there a reason you haven't posted it on your social media?
Because I think, like, out of context, people are going to be like, oh, what is this? But I think that, like, obviously now if people come for me, I'm just going to start posting all my text messages and all my stuff. And, like, I'm done taking pictures. Like, here's just receipts. That's it.
Playing devil's advocate. Brittany didn't have access to her phone. Jamie Lynn, you have a platform. People would have listened to you help your sister. Why did you not speak out on social media or to the public when you discovered the conservatorship was oppressive?
As far as I'm concerned, I would message her and I would talk to her, and we had full access to talk to her. I was in contact with her as well as when I put her in contact with the judges and the legal people who she
Why does everyone on the internet think that she didn't have a phone?
I don't know, but I know, I mean, she had her phone. I mean, I know that because, like, I would, I was
talk to her.
But there was certain times where I wouldn't understand why, but she would block me or whatever it was, and I felt like I didn't, like, I didn't understand sometimes, like, where or what my position was or how I could be helpful, but also I was dealing with my own dynamics in our relationship. And I was getting to a place where mine and her relationship was becoming a bit more challenging and unhealthy for me, where at some point I had to protect myself too. And like outside of the conservatorship or anything, like mine and her relationship was becoming to a point where I needed to also set boundaries and healthy boundaries with her. But as I've mentioned previously, anytime she told me she wanted help, I gave her the chances and the opportunities and the people to help her. She knows all of that. Why wouldn't she just have clarified that and stopped all of this? That's where I don't understand. But I do know that these are factually true statements and everything. Like, I have to at some point speak for myself, or what? Spend the rest of my life being bullied and there's absolutely no truth to some of these things. Like, I have to speak up for myself the same way I want everyone to speak up for themselves.
Brittany posted to social media vague allegations referencing a lack of support from her family and those who should have helped. Everyone assumed she was talking about you. Who did you understand her to be talking about in these posts?
Quite literally, I felt like a lot of them were directed at me at times too, and it made me feel like, why is she doing this to me? And I've messaged her about these things, and then she clarified with me that she was sorry she went on that, ran on social media, and she texted me that she knew I had nothing to do with this and that, she was just taking it out or whatever, but it kind of has continued on, and that feels like I feel a bit helpless. Like, I don't know what else to do except for what I've always done is to continue to love and support her, but also, like, respectfully speak up for myself, because I can sit here and allow you to make any choices you want, but do not attack me and my family and expect me to not sit there and say something.
Yeah. In the book, you provide a text message that basically clears your name, Jamie Lynn.
Yeah, and I wish that she would share that.
Can you read the text? Can you pull out your phone and read the text?
I mean, why not? I mean, like, you know what? Everybody else gets to go on social media and say whatever the F way they want. I might as well just actually say